Hi, it's Kylie Koo and this is day 22 of the ATC challenge. So I'm starting by taking some of this cherry blossom pink and some titanium white and mixing them together to make a background colour. Now I was in a hurry today, I didn't have a lot of time to do this, and I did unfortunately make a bit of a mistake with the filming. I thought I'd pressed off at one point, but it obviously hadn't clicked off, and then of course when I thought I was pressing on, I was actually putting it off, so I've ended up missing a little bit of footage, but hopefully that doesn't spoil your viewing pleasure too much. So there I am, I've just finished the background and now I'm taking this script stamp just with some black stays on and just putting it at different angles across the background. It's just to create some interest. Now what I'm going to use as the main focal point is a piece of a napkin, and I'll let you see what the napkin is. It's an Alice in Wonderland napkin. It's got two different pictures, but I want to use the one with the rabbit. So the bit that I've missed out was me actually just showing you the napkin and me cutting out the rabbit, but there we are, that's where I got to. So I've cut that out, and what I'm going to do is to use some matte Mod Podge to glue this in place. So just giving it a good cover. I'd already taken the backing off that. It only had one sheet of backing on it, so that wasn't too difficult. And I'm just putting that in place. And you'll see that some of the script writing still shows through the background of that. Now there were also, I was looking at the clock, but you know, I wondered about cutting that in half or taking a quarter of it maybe and putting it on, but it was just going to be too big. So I'm now cutting out the words, "Oh my ears and whiskers," and looking at if there's a way I can maybe put it on. I did think that I'd maybe have to write it on myself, but I play about with it. I cut it up, try it in a couple of different places, just checking it different ways. At this point I think I better make sure that's fully dry, otherwise the words are going to be stuck down by mistake. So as I say, just trying it in different ways, but whiskers are just going to be too big unless I go, you know, end up with quite a bit over the ears. I then think that maybe I could actually run it down the side and then along the bottom. And that's what I decide on. It still covers a little bit of the image, but not too much. I'd also meantime looked out this clock, or it's like a fob watch charm, and you know, it's a better size for the scale of the ATC. So now just taking the backing off the words. I was slightly concerned that because these were quite small that I might damage them, but thankfully I managed. It was just one of those days, because since I didn't have a lot of time, I knew that if it went dreadfully wrong, I'd be really up against it trying to get this done. So there we go, just sticking that in place, and I think that that works out fine. And I'll just go over the top of that with a coat of the Mod Podge. I did think about putting a bit of colour on the rabbit, but just wasn't sure, and I quite liked it that sort of semi-transparent way anyway. So I'm now taking my pen and just going over a bit of the ears, not too much, a little bit of the ears, a little bit of the face, but I certainly don't go round at all. And I also just do a little bit of the writing, but again I don't do it all. I then take the Antique Linen Distress ink and start to go round the edges. And I'll go on to take a makeup sponge, because what I wanted to do was to start to bring some of it onto the main face of the card. And I work away at that for a little while, but it really isn't giving me much added colour at all. So I kind of give up on that, and then I take out the vintage photo. I was slightly wary because I thought it might just be a bit too dark, but I started it and thought, no, this is actually more what I want. And I work my way around the card with that and start to go over the edges of the napkin, and I think that that just helps blend it in a bit. It's still possible to see the edges, but slightly less so than before, and actually I think it gives it a bit of a deeper colour. So all in all, I was quite happy that I did that. And just going a little bit onto the main image. So now take the glossy accents and glue the charm into place. I put a little bit too much on, so I just had to wipe some of the excess from the edges. And just trying to push that down and into place. So forgive the pun, but if I'd had a little bit more time, I would have let that dry in place before I started to do this bit. But just going round the edges with that vintage photo. But of course, because the charm wasn't glued in place yet, it was still moving about a little bit, so I did have to push it back into place. But as I say, I was just kind of hurrying today, just trying to get it done. I didn't not want to get a video done, so there we are. That's it. Very quick one. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.